Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Thursday, February 15th, second show of the day. Ryan Nielsen's intro presser is in the books. We've got some instant reactions here. These things, introductory press conferences, they're always going to have good vibes. That's just kind of the nature of what it is, right? You're hiring a new coordinator, you're hiring a new coach, whatever it may be. People are excited to start their new job. People are excited for something new. So that's just how it goes. That's always how it goes. But I'll tell you this, Ryan Nielsen, he comes out with a glorious mustache, immaculate. You'll love to see the mustache. But look, Ryan Nielsen, he says attacking and aggressive in everything we do on the defensive side of the ball. Says that from the top down, from the defensive front to the linebackers to the secondary. It's all about attacking and aggressiveness. He also says tackling, takeaways, ball disruption, and pursuit. Look, if the Jaguars can tackle better than they did down the stretch last year, that's going to be huge, obviously. Takeaways, those were not a problem for the Jaguars. But, with some coaches that come in and they talk, it is just talk because they haven't proven it. They don't have a track record of getting the job done as coaches in their current role. That's not the case with Ryan Nielsen. He has the resume over the last few years. Massive leaps for the Falcons last year in his first year there. And third down, red zone, all the key metrics. The Saints, they were really good in 2022 when he was the co-defensive coordinator there. So I think you look at Ryan Nielsen and the background, the track record, it's not all talk. You've seen it come to fruition, and you've heard players talk about how intense he is and how good of a teacher he is. The Falcons, they didn't really get the takeaways last year, but I think the Jags have shown that they can. And I think with Ryan Nielsen's mindset and mentality and his ability to teach and coach, I think they will. Incredibly complimentary of Coach Doug Peterson. Ryan Nielsen says he didn't know him personally, but talked to a lot of guys that did know him, that have coached under him or with him, and everybody just had tremendous things to say about him. Says the same thing about Trent Baalke, which I do find a little bit hard to believe, but that's neither here nor there. Talked about Shad Khan, the new facility, the roster. Says there was no doubt this is where we wanted to be. Talking about him and his family. Talked about how they were at Disney World, right? We've heard about that when the call came in. Funny story there for sure. He's like, I just need to take this call, but we just sat down on this ride. Coach Doug Peterson trying to get him on the phone to talk about this job opening, and obviously it ended up working out for Ryan Nielsen and the Jaguars. Talking about the group they have on defense, says they have a very talented group, says that's what excited and attracted him to this football team, right? He also talks about it's all about relationship and it's all about people. To me, I love that because I think especially in today's game and today's world, it really is all about relationships and people. It used to be, 20, 30 years ago, coaches would have players come in and players had to adapt to what that coach wanted. But now I think so many good coaches, they teach a different way and they try to get their point home, get their message across to different players in different ways. They try to suit each player, their teaching style and their communication style to each person, to each player. I think that's key. I don't think you can communicate with everyone the same way. I think you need to be flexible in that regard. And I think based on what we've heard from Ryan Nielsen and seen from him so far, and seen from players he's coached, that's absolutely going to be the case here in Jacksonville. Talked about Trayvon Walker, was asked about him, said, look, if Trayvon, he can rush inside, we'll put him inside. We will put guys in the best positions to have success, right? So he says at this point, based off a few reps from last year, they don't know. It's going to take getting into mini camp, OTAs, training camp, all that stuff to see where these guys fit best. But he said that absolutely if Trayvon Walker, if they feel he can rush inside, they're going to let him do that at times for sure. He said, talking about his defensive influences and his defense in Atlanta last year and in New Orleans, he says this is going to be Jacksonville's defense. It's going to be a collaborative effort. He says that. I have a strong feeling, though, based on some of the other things he talked about, that you're still going to see a lot of the same core principles, and you will, obviously. He was hired to bring in his defense, to bring in his style. He's going to try to fit that around what he has here in Jacksonville and be malleable, certainly. But he talked about his press man heavy scheme. He said nothing cheap and nothing deep. He says when you play press, you take away the quick game, which is absolutely true. If your guys are all up at the line of scrimmage, makes it very difficult to get the pass off, and that's something you did not see last year. You did not see under Mike Caldwell is press. So that allowed a lot of easy, quick completions. They were kind of trying to play um, more bend but don't break style of defense, obviously attacking as well, but they were not trying to kind of take away the quick game. The Jaguars, they're going to try to take away the quick game now a lot. And he says when you play shell, you take away the deep stuff, right? And when he says shell, he means a too high shell, which basically just makes it more difficult to complete passes deep down the field. You've seen that throughout the NFL, being much more prevalent over the last several years. Kind of the NFL's adapting to trying to take away the deep ball from Patrick Mahomes and some of these other incredible quarterbacks. But look, I agree with him. You take away the cheap stuff, the short game, and you take away the deep game, makes it pretty damn difficult to execute at a high level. Says in talking about, the press man specific part of that, there's plenty of press bail techniques, and those kind of maybe look like man at the start of the play, but then you drop into zone. So he says they'll mix and match a lot of different coverages. It's not just going to be straight man-to-man coverage, which we all knew that. I think that the way he and Trent Baalke have kind of framed it is it's as if people are expecting them to only run man coverage. There's no team in the league that only runs man coverage, but they are still going to be a press man heavy team and a press heavy team, even if they're dropping into zone coverages there. He mentioned that he wants his staff to be great men and great teachers. Look, we've already got reports of what most of the staff is going to look like. He's bringing in Chris Richard. He's bringing in some guys from the college level as well that he's worked with or knows from different channels. But this is a guy that believes in people being hardworking and believes in them being great teachers. And again, the teaching, the communication style, it's going to be different for every different player. And if you can communicate effectively to an entire room, to an entire group of guys, that is going to be huge. You've got to be able to teach at the NFL level today. I'm talking about Trevor Lawrence. He says he wants to get Trevor Lawrence football back as much as they can. That was another part of the excitement of taking this job was, having Trevor Lawrence as your quarterback. Yeah, I agree with that, right? Trevor Lawrence to me is one of the best young quarterbacks in this league. I think the sky is the limit for what he can be, clearly from what we've seen so far. And you could sense how excited Ryan Nielsen was to get going. He says he wished he could get out there on the practice field today and really work with these guys. Obviously, you can't because of NFL rules. They won't be able to get out there for a couple months. But talked a little bit more about his principles. He went on to say, rush and coverage. You cannot let the quarterback get the ball out quickly. And again, that goes to the press man stuff. The press coverage makes it difficult to get the ball out super quick. That allows your rush to get there, and then it allows your coverage to really get into position and makes it difficult. So if you can execute that style of defense, which Ryan Nielsen's defenses have been able to do over the last couple years, you can definitely have some success, especially on third down and in the red zone. And he talked about third down, says they're going to have multiple packages for third down specifically every single week. They have got to keep offenses guessing. He says being multiple is key. Quarterbacks, offenses, offensive coordinators, he says they are too good to not be multiple. You cannot be vanilla. You cannot be running the same things week in and week out. You've got to show them different looks. You've got to keep them guessing, and you've got to be able to teach your guys how to do that effectively week to week and game to game, even drive to drive, right? Did talk about Josh Allen for a second. Said, obviously he's very important. They want him back, thinks that's going to work out, hopes it's going to work out. And he says that he's really excited to potentially get to work with him. And if you can just take a step in the right direction every season, like what could that look like for Josh Allen getting even better in 2024 than he was in 2023? Says that gets him really excited. Says he's talked to Josh Allen and he's been fantastic. Also mentioned that the staff is in place. As we mentioned, a lot of guys that have been reported to be joining the Jaguars defensive staff. We've done short videos on all those. Once the staff is officially announced, which will be a little bit later, maybe today, maybe soon, not sure. We will do a long form video on the Jaguars coaching staff under Ryan Nielsen. And of course, a couple of the offensive coaches that they're going to end up hiring as well. But yeah, overall, Great vibes from Ryan Nielsen. We already knew that this was a guy that was going to come in and have some energy and be excitable and talk about being aggressive. Like, it's not a secret what Ryan Nielsen brings to Jacksonville. He had this same introductory press conference in Atlanta a year ago, and we saw what he did in New Orleans as well. So it's not like you're hiring a guy that's never been in a defensive coordinator before, like you did last time with Mike Caldwell. All the talk that he has here, you've seen it in action. You have proof of concept with Ryan Nielsen. I think it's going to work really well for him here in Jacksonville. Fired up to see how the rest of it goes. The Jaguars have some big weeks ahead. You know, the franchise tag window is coming up, free agency after that, the NFL draft not too far down the road. It's going to be a really fun time here in Jacksonville. Fired up to see how it goes down. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Y'all have a good one.